Throughout the 15th century, the gap between the social classes were quite big. Because the lower classes lacked money, knowledge and education was not available to them. However, as the Renaissance started and people became more interested in art and literature, the need for more books increased, and the knowledge was only available for the rich and higher classes. But as Johann von Gutenberg created something called the Gutenberg printing press, more books and papers were being printed at once. It was a movable type of printing, not the old way of printing using stamps that was done before. The Gutenberg printing press shaped the modern world by making knowledge accessible to all. Being able to print more books, the abundance in books allowed people to purchase books that were once available to them, increasing the desire for the skill of literacy. Also, because people had access to new books and information, knowledge spread throughout the world even faster and broader. Furthermore, through the spread of education, the idea of equality through knowledge was strongly practiced by different groups of people throughout the world, helping close the gap between different classes.
The Renaissance was a period of rebirth of art and literature. New ideas roused the great desire to be knowledgeable. As books became more available to everybody and people in lower classes found joy in literature, the literacy rate increased massively. Prior to the movable type invented by Johann Gutenberg, books were handwritten and therefore they were not available to everybody. Only the upper class had access to books. The common people could not afford them. However, as the printing press began making thousands of copies of books became very abundant. As people read more and more, different types of genres were created and people began showing much more interest in literature. Consequently, there was a great increase in literacy in Europe.
Before Gutenberg's invention became accessible, printing had been a complicated process that took a great deal of time and effort. Books were copied by hand. Due to this inefficiency, the creation of books and sources of information and knowledge were limited in numbers and extremely valuable, therefore were unaffordable to the lower classes. The Gutenberg printing press were then invented in 1450, which accelerated the process of printing, making them cheaper. Consequently, they became more accessible to the lower classes. Knowledge and news spread fast and equally throughout the world. By 1500, 9 to 10 million books were produced in presses in about 250 cities. For instance, Gutenberg's printing press widely spread not only Martin Luther's German translation of the Bible, but also his ideas and his revolt against the Catholic Church. People were able to detect the corruption of the Church by interpreting the Bible by themselves, which they couldn't because they could not understand Latin. Luther's ideas and documents, such as Luther's 95 Theses, were quickly and broadly circulated. This sparked the Protestant Reformation, starting from the Roman Catholic Church to England and all over Europe.
When knowledge became more accessible, equality through knowledge started to be practiced. As the lower classes became more educated, the gap of the education levels between different classes started to close. The impact of equality started to be emphasized by different people, especially philosophers during the Enlightenment. Many philosophers and despots tried to shape society through ideas of happiness, nature, liberty, reason, and progress. People such as Mary Wollstonecraft and Emily du Chaillu fought for equal education for women. During the time of the Enlightenment, both women, being wealthy and eligible to receive education, understood that people of either gender should receive education without discrimination. Although the idea of equality through education is still not completely applied throughout the world today, countries that follow these ideals try their best to provide opportunities to every citizen. Nowadays, developed countries offer public free education in order for people who cannot afford it to still receive it. Both during the Renaissance and the modern world today, knowledge is a bridge for the gap between different kinds of people. The accessibility of knowledge in the past has influenced the idea of equality through knowledge today.